You're listening to the Sit Rep Podcast, your home for everything related to historical wargaming. When one man picked up a weapon and battled another, we're going to talk about it. We might even play the battle ourselves, or we just might make fun of each other, but we are entertaining. And now, joining us from merry old England is Gaz, our resident painter, and Ralph, our graphic artist. And of course, on the good old American side, we have our historical guru, Big Jim Oriskany from sunny Florida. And here in the Midwest, representing the nation's people, dun, 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 is Marty and G. And now, sit back, get ready, and let's battle. Okay, we are live. Sorry about that. YouTube doesn't like to do anything quick, but welcome to the live show for our Patreon subscribers. With me today via Skype, as we are responsible adults, for at least social distancing. I have Marty over on Skype here, about 10 miles away from me.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
And then we have Jim in sunny Florida.
Hello, everybody.
And I can say happily today it's sunny here in Illinois.
Awesome.
Yes, there is no noise in Illinois.
Excuse me while I let the dog out. All right, and over in merry old England, we have Ralph.
Hey, folks.
And then we have our Bob Ross of painting.
That's right.
The good old Gaz.
I haven't got enough hair on my head to be Bob Ross. In fact, potentially if you wrapped all the hair of my body to compare to just what was on his head, I still might not have enough.
What I just heard was Gaz drop a Photoshop challenge.
Ooh. All right, you heard it here, folks. If you're out there and you're good with Photoshop or any of those altering softwares, we want to see your best Gaz/Bob Ross pictures. Post them on the Sit Rep Facebook page.
Oh, dear Lord.
Woo!
Oh, Gaz.
Shoot me now.
Oh, I know what I'm doing for the rest of the day.
Well,
So
I
do
don't know.
I.
I thought you had some gaming or streaming going on today.
Too late. I've already got them downloaded.
Glad I could provide the inspiration.
All right. So it's been a busy few weeks, for those of us fighting on the front lines of the COVID, and for those who are fortunate enough to be able to spend some time hobbying. I know a lot of guys have been working on gaming and painting and et cetera, and I know some have to work from home, so being home isn't as much fun as we would think it would be. So let's do a quick catch up with everybody, and we'll start over on the other side of the pond. And Gaz, what you been up to?
Done another one for the 13 days equals 13 hours. I've been cleaning up the other models as well. I need to log some hours for that. They normally take me maybe 35 minutes. They're actually not too bad. In addition, been playing around with a 3D printer, an Anycubic Photon. So finding my feet with that, which is going to be interesting. Awesome. And also doing some research into what's available, especially for moderns. And found some crazy detailed stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting few weeks ahead of me while I, get my head around all the ins and outs of the supports of doing 3D prints. But the files that I've found, you buy individually, but they are about as detailed as you could possibly get because they're a full 3D scan of military personnel in the poses. So they look exactly like those poses.
Where do you find these files that you're talking about?
I'll need to dig back out of the website. It's like a 360 photo CAD. So they've done all the different types of weapons, guys in different poses, on patrol, looking like they're on patrol, stood in firing positions, and they're CAD files that you can then download, convert to STL as well, and print. So quite scary times. Yeah. So I'm still getting my head around printing a base, never mind a miniature, without it melting into the framework of the scaffolding. I've done a couple now that are right. I've just been self-teaching with some tutorials on YouTube how to do the actual supports myself. The first one of them's just come out okay. It's curing on my windowsill as we speak in the glorious sunshine that is the UK's 14 degrees Celsius, people. None of your crazy Fahrenheit crap. That's for ovens. Got to get these pokes in early as I'm fast on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to digging into it a bit more. And if I can get it to successfully work, be it as something larger like a bust-sized mini or something small, I will. And I'll post some of the images up on Facebook.
Nice. All right. Well, I'll have to check that out. So you got a Anycubic, huh? I wondered if you'd pull the trigger on one of those. They are awesome little machines.
Yeah, very, very intuitive. Not a lot to have to remember or learn with it. And the PDF that you get is available online. Even if you don't want to buy it, you can just type in the Anycubic Photon manual. It'll come up straight away, and it'll show you how easy it is to use and process. The hard part is just that the software that you put the STL files into and then build the scaffolding with is not as good at building scaffolding because it's more of a generalization. Mm-hmm. So as always, I went to YouTube, hit up, found a good site, 3D, I think it's 3D Print Pro, he's called. He's done about 6 videos of how to basically scaffold a lot better. And just by watching them, today I've done my first miniature. It was actually like a Shaolin monk, and it took me about 2.5 hours to scaffold it.
Oh, wow.
But but as I went through that, I started to get faster and faster. And I quit partway through and started again. And the final attempt took 40 minutes.
Okay. So you're doing it manually? You're not doing it automatically?
So, yeah, everything I've done on the shield, the dwarf that I just did, was from what he taught.
Okay.
On his videos, and I've basically built it from the ground up, scaffolding wise. Okay. And once I take the scaffolding off and have a look at it, if it's clean, that's that file done. I don't never need to redo scaffolding on that file because I know it now works. Yep. So that's my aim. And being on one of the patrons that's currently running, Titan Forge, I get about 30 to 40 models a month. 40 to 50 bases a month, and 6 to 8 pieces of terrain as well on an average month.
Oh, so they have a Kickstarter going, or?
Yeah, it's it's a patron.
Oh, patron. Okay.
It's a $10 patron, and you get about £300 to £400 worth of STL files a month.
Wow. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's huge. It is huge.
I'll have to check out. There you go, Titan Forge 2, guys.
Beautiful as well.
Yeah. Well, let me see.
Unfortunately, it's not modern, but it does have some really nice. They're called the Dragon Empire. They're basically Japanese. So you've got you've got bowmen, you've got warriors, you've got the lords in the full samurai gear, as well as the more fantastical side, the dragons and such. But there's some beautiful miniatures in there. I'm kind of hoping they go to historical at some point. Uh-huh. And they currently have 5,000 patrons at $10 a month. So this is going to keep going.
Well, I have the page up for everybody who's showing on live, because we do this as a video and audio podcast now. And so we have the Titan Forge miniatures. These miniatures look really good.
Oh, they're astounding.
They are beautiful.
It's the one Warren keeps banging on about on tabletop and Beast of War and stuff. They've touted it and stuff, and they showed off some of the prints and stuff, and some of the prints are amazing. Uh-huh. The futuristic Japanese stuff's great for like cyberpunk and things. Yes. It's very, very cyberpunk, so if people are looking, I know it's not necessarily what we normally talk about, but if people were looking for doing something with Cyberpunk 2077, especially the new role-playing version of Cyberpunk that's coming out, and want to do tabletop minis.
Yep.
And they've got a 3D printer.
Oh, that's really nice. Damn it, Kaz, you just did it again. You don't even have to be here and I spend money.
But you do have to be there for any painting to get done.
Special release as well. So at the moment, they've been releasing so much extra. They released a whole load of Amazons, including a massive T-Rex model, and it's just they've just gone a little crazy, I think. But I'm really interested. I was interested mainly because of the bases, because I'm after resin bases for some of my models. And they have a variety on there, and that's going to keep growing. Then they did Ralph has said, this cyberpunk set, and it comes with a full set of scenery that's roadways, street lamps, building walls, pavements, cars.
Wow.
It's all in there. And that was just
Walker.
1 month. And then that month you also got the Dragon Age stuff, which is the Samurai, which is kind of why I got.
Nice.
If I'm honest, that's definitely one of my loves, is that sort of era of interest.
Okay. I'm looking, I have the page up. I'm showing people. I just switched the page off because I was putting my payment information and I don't need to be paying for everybody.
Oh, damn.
But these are pretty impressive. Cyberpunk, Dragon Empire, Metal Beards. So those are obviously dwarves.
Dwarves. Yeah.
Those are really
Really
sharp
nice.
looking dwarves.
Yeah.
So,
So in
yeah,
Mech,
are these scaled for 28 mil? I mean,
They around 28, 32. I think they're
Okay.
somewhere out there. So yeah, they're pretty much plug and go.
okay. Which is the nice thing. If you know how to convert, you can make them any scale you want. So,
Exactly. Yeah, with Chitterbox now and stuff, all you literally do is type in the conversion scale you want.
yeah.
But I'm kind of hoping they go into historical as well.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I think it'd be just interesting to see what they'd go for and what they'd produce. But if nothing else, for $10 a month, if you're playing D&D with miniatures, the Samurai, if you're looking to do something like Test of Honor, more historical type of things, there's any number of Ronin and Shogun rule sets out there.
Yeah.
I mean, these things are very pretty, and yes, they've got some fantastical elements like the lions. They've got the traditional
Yeah.
Chinese sort of lions
Yeah.
that are dragging the chariot, but they're scenery to me as well, because how often do you see that outside the doors to one of the large, buildings or one of the compounds in Japan? So you put them on a plinth, do them up in metal or as a bronze, and you've got yourself more scenery as well, which is really cool.
These are awesome. So I'll definitely have to check these out. You know what this though means, Gaz? I'm going to have to buy the bigger resin printer, the Meopoly one that has the huge build plate, so you can do some of this big scenery instead of doing it in pieces.
Well, this month is Dragon Empire, and their lead model is a general on a huge dragon. So yeah, and it's that traditional long-bodied one as well. It's beautiful. Another nice thing is there's a poll every month. They have a supported Facebook group, a supported site, and the poll each month is to ask which you'd prefer out of sort of 4 options for 2 months in front, so they can start to design and sculpt. So every month you kind of choose, you at least you get a say in what's coming out. I think there was nearly 3,000 people voted last month. When it's Dragon Empire again, which will be the 3rd release. So by this point, you've almost got enough. You've easily got enough for a skirmish force now in models. And if there's a 2.0, like a 4th generation of it, you're pretty much talking army sort of with a selection of minis. You'll have repeats in there. But another nice thing with 3D printing is you can mirror the design. So even though it's a copy of, say, a right-handed archer, by mirroring it on an x-axis, it'll mirror it in the opposite side. So it'd become an opposite-handed archer, but it'd be the exact same model, but at least it looks different.
Nice. So,
And I know Ralph has got some stuff he might want 3D printed.
I shared the screen with everybody. Can you all see the screen? I shared it here on Facebook, on Skype.
Yep.
So, Ralph, why don't you take us through this interesting 3D printing project?
This popped up on one of the many Vietnam Facebook groups that have popped up for gaming in Vietnam. And this popped up, someone posted up this Kickstarter of collection of STL files for basically creating Hue or other bits of Vietnam scenery. Popped up on Kickstarter. It's coming, if you scroll back up, G.
Okay.
Just to see when it's happened. So it's coming in June. So the STL files are coming in June.
Okay.
It's already funded.
Yeah, well overfunded, yeah.
Well overfunded, but you're getting all of the STL files to create that top cityscape plus a load of others. So if you scroll down, you'll see what else you get. You're getting some Brown Water Navy vehicles. All scalable. I think initially it's all the building stuff at 28.
Okay.
But you'll be able to scale them
That's
up and down.
a huge printing project then.
Yeah,
28.
there will be a huge printing project. I think the buildings are 28, but I think the and everything is 28. But as we know,
I
with
like
most
the
3D printing,
barracks.
yeah, you'll be able to scale up and down and things like that with them.
Yeah.
And if you intermix this with Empress dropped this week some new resin bits they're doing for Vietnam, which is Command CP, a tower like what's there, the
Cobra
bunker.
helicopter, scroll down.
Yes, there's a copper.
Jim, we need Heinz.
Sweet Jesus, that actually looks good.
That might be the 3D render, though. Not
I know,
necessarily
but still, I mean, if it, if you can get a good resin print off of something like that, holy moly.
But like I was saying, Empress dropped their resin sets that are coming out. So there was a CP, there was a command tent, there was some trench line, there was some other bits as well, like a gate as well. And they're doing them in resin bits that are going part of the Empress scenery. So you could intermix them with really nice 3D prints and create a firebase in 28mm.
Wait a minute. What's the hovercraft doing there? Did they use these freaking things in Vietnam?
Yes.
Jim?
I'll let the experts keep talking. Go ahead.
They did have hovercraft vehicles in Nam.
Okay. It's news to me. All right. Hue Railway Station. Wait a minute. There it is.
There's a Huey.
There we go.
It's a Huey.
There's a
cannot have Vietnam without a Huey. I'm just going to say it.
There's a company called, is it 3D Prints or something? There's a 3D battle print company that do PLA prints in 15, 20, and 28mm. And they've got 15, 20, and 20mm of a Huey with different options.
Nice.
So it's either got the rocket pods or the chain guns or the heavy rocket mount stuff.
Okay, so you can do a Huey as a slick, or you can do it as a hog or gunship. So, well, that's cool.
And that's on a different company. They sell the prints, and I think it's like 15 quid for a PLA print of a Huey.
Okay, you got a Loach or a Hughes, the OH6s.
Little Bird.
Little Bird is the modern term. Back in Vietnam, these were called Loaches.
Loaches,
I'm thinking from modern.
Yeah, so back in Vietnam, these were Loaches. These were scout helicopters at the most part. Yeah, but that's
You could put the platforms on the side and make it a modern one for.
Yeah, could use it. Definitely could use it. The rotor design's a little different these days, but you could easily adapt it for modern. Got LCMs because they were still using those, I understand. Bunkers, nice. M48, okay.
Ooh. That's my. Isn't that my tank? Top tank of choice.
Yes, I believe it was, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Very maneuverable. It could also be dropped in. It was.
So if you guys have not seen that, oh God, where do we have that? I'd have to go back on Beast of War to find that, but.
That should definitely be out to the patrons at some point. Then
I'll definitely link it. But we did a top tanks. Remember Top Gear when it used to be good. When Clarkson and all those guys used to be on it instead of the new guys. We did our own version called Top Tank. We did it at the Cantini Museum, where they have all the tanks outside. So we all picked a tank. So I know I picked the Sheridan. Yeah, M551. You picked the M48. I can't remember what Justin picked.
You made the right choice, Gaz.
Thank you, Jim. It's only from hours of watching your stuff that I managed to
between the Patton and the Sheridan, you picked the right choice.
Oh, come on.
Either no love for the Sheridan.
Come on, it's an airborne tank.
Exactly.
Jim's not wrong.
You guys
say airborne and tank in the same sentence, you are already in the wrong conversation.
Oh, man, that's harsh, man.
Much like we used to refer to the 25th Infantry Division, too light to fight, too heavy to move.
I did see something when we were talking about 3D printing there, folks. I did see something. There's a YouTuber I watch called Uncle Jesse, and he does reviews and stuff for 3D printers and things.
Yeah.
This past couple of weeks, he's been doing reviews of the new Elegoo Saturn.
Yeah.
Which is a huge, large base resin printer. Yeah. Probably twice the size of the Mars, at least, by the looks of it. But also, he did a review, which is an old review of the washable resin.
Awesome.
As in water washable resin.
Okay.
Interesting.
So you don't need.
I don't know about that. I mean, I guess I'd have to check it out. But I mean, I just use rubbing alcohol to clean mine with.
This was, instead of using things like the PLA and stuff for cleaning the models, just use straight water.
Okay, we're going to do it.
That's really good.
we're going to do a reaction video. Everybody see the screen?
You see the disgust in G's face with Justin at this point.
Right? So we're going to do a reaction video. And Jim, please, all the sighs and uhs you want, it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right, here we go. Please talk and feel free to comment. Can you all hear it?
No.
No, I can see you playing.
But that might just be me.
No, I can't hear it either.
Okay.
It's always good to see Justin and Sam again.
Stick the link in for another time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're hearing it on the recording. We just can't hear it.
Oh, that's all right. It's very stop-start here. I don't know if it's the same there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm stopping it.
Yeah, because it'll be
Yeah.
streaming through.
All right. Well, I'll link that up so everybody can hear it, and we can. But I mean, Lance did a really good job with the intro here.
Oh yeah, the little hubcap spinning.
I love the spinning wheel of the tank as well.
That's a road wheel. It's tanks.
And here's Justin's pick.
Stewart's not bad, especially the M5.
It is really good in Flames of War when it gets to the flanks of my Panzer IVs.
I was going to say flanks. It's a Crusader that actually works. So the speed. Oh my God! Look at the size of that star.
It says hit here.
I was going to say, is that not just a target?
It's yellow stars were very, very early war. That's like the U.S. in like early 42, late 42.
Look at your
Could you get any bigger flags on it? Did it have an area with one?
It's America.
So usually the M5s were the ones that were sent out to other countries. That was usually the.
There you go, Jim. Let loose. Let loose.
Go on, Jim.
It's just a Sheridan. I mean, what are you?
It looks like an amphibious vehicle.
I did my best James May impression ever. It was grand.
But I'll say this much: it's not the tank's fault that the tank is terrible. The Americans in the early '60s. No, I'm serious. The Americans in the early '60s were playing around with that 152 millimeter Shillelagh.
Yeah.
It's a guided anti-tank missile that it fires out of a main gun.
Yeah.
It was that's almost like a Sarah Palin impression right there. You have the right tank on your hand. Nice. That's not a tank, Sam. Keep walking.
He's working on it. He's building up to it.
If they could have gotten that Shillelagh to be a little bit more
You
effective.
didn't do an M48. You did a Chaffee.
That's a Chaffee.
Yeah, that's not an M48.
Guys.
Tell the truth,
It'll be
guys.
fine. Like I said, I learned everything from Jim.
Is that a Chaffee or an M41 Bulldog?
No, I think that's a Chaffee.
Yeah.
The sign said Chaffee.
That's totally a Chaffee. Yeah. I got like this tiny little window in the corner playing it. Yeah, that's a Chaffee. Chaffee's not bad. Chaffee in World War II was awesome for a light tank. That's what the Americans used to replace the Stuart. But not to like get down on the museum there, but I'm pretty sure the markings on that Stuart were incorrect. That huge yellow star and the big flag on the side. Well, not only are they just way too big, but the M5. So the Stuart is the M3 and the M5, and the Americans built the M3. And all right.
So, Jim, what you missed was that Sam was saying that was the he found a Tiger tank, and it was an M48 painted up, with the Vietnam Tiger. So.
Oh, gotcha. And that was the end of John watching the video. Gotcha.
So I'll link it up so everybody can actually hear the dialogue because it was pretty good. I mean, we did it on the fly. It was not planned. We had a day before Gen Con, so we went to the museum and we're like, hey, why don't we do something stupid? And we came up with Top Tank. So there you go. But it's awesome to see those projects. I cannot wait to see some of the stuff. So yeah, M48, M113. Yep. Holy crap! Who's gonna have time to print that? Jeez.
Well, you with your new printer.
Well, during the coronavirus, sat at home right now.
Reverse during the coronavirus.
But I can tell you what, you can make a pretty awesome table.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
But 28 mil, do you know how long that's going to take to print?
Well, you would probably put it in something like Cura and cut it, wouldn't you?
Well, you have to. I'm assuming it comes as a multiple part file. MiG.
Those MiG 15s, MiG 17s.
17.
If it's Vietnam,
it
must be a 17. If it's, I can't really see it. If it's PT 76s, that's for Long Vang. Yeah, if it's Vietnam, it should be MiG 17s. But again, I can't really. Is that what it says there?
As well.
Yep.
There's a Sabre.
Super Sabre or F-86. Yep. Sabres.
Yep.
A Sampan. A Sampan looks good. That's an actual print. So that actually looks pretty good.
There's a lot of stuff there, isn't there?
There is, and for the price as well, it's quite a reasonable collection of buildings.
I like a crap ton of stuff.
There is a crap ton of stuff, but here's my thing. So far, all we've seen is one actual print.
Yeah.
So I would like to see all these, how they actually print, because it's one thing to design them on a CAD. It's another thing to print the reality. You know what I'm saying? The U.S. Embassy?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yes. Oh yeah. Let me get the MC miniature. Let's do this.
And there it is there as well.
That's like a 6-story building in real life.
Well, look, Jim, it actually breaks down to each floor.
Oh my God! All right. Yeah, that's big. that's really big.
Watchtower.
Man, when you're thinking about scenery, though, you're not talking necessarily about resin printers. You're talking stuff like electric bars. You're talking about stuff with much bigger beds.
Yeah. What is this? Ontos? I don't know what that is.
It's a Marine Corps vehicle it didn't. It's kind of like our version of the Sheridan.
The price for everything on there, that's everything. This is the UK price in pounds, is £35.
What? So it's like $50 US.
I may be getting this, by the way.
Oh,
guys.
I am definitely getting this. Damn it!
Look, they've even got the.
Here, let me go back down. There's more. I thought we were done, but there's actually more. Calipad.
Yes.
A crashed Huey.
In the desert.
Oh, there you go.
A Sabre.
You can even paint that up as desert as well. So this would be transferable to.
So then you can make this a Marine Corps Huey.
The Marines didn't really fly Hueys, though.
But they're flying them now. I mean, they still fly them. But it's a Super Huey or whatever they're called, the twin engine version.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you want to make it modern scenario, you could use it as a replacement for the Super Huey.
Here's a neat little comparison as far as that M50 Ontos we were talking about before. So the Marine Corps definitely still uses AH-1, I think they're the W, Super Cobras.
Yes.
Yep.
Left over from, literal, I mean, it's not a direct line of sight, but pretty much the same general bird as Vietnam. Because the Marines will use something and use something until it literally falls apart beneath them. They quietly just kind of discontinued the Ontos in like 1965. And they had hundreds of these things. So that gives you an idea of when the Marine Corps passes it up, it's usually pretty bad equipment. Because usually we have to use like the leftovers, and we will use it and weld it back together and use it and keep it going. When
the Marines say the hell with it, I'd rather walk.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's got a pretty good reputation. Like you look it up on YouTube or on Google, you're going to find 100 little enthusiasts who, it's a hidden gem from God knows when. It had a good reputation because it did have a good. It had a good reputation in Hawaii City. It's basically they took this old, I don't even know what the hell it was originally, this tiny old I don't even know if it was an APC, this very, very, very light, comically small, like the size of a Humvee, armored vehicle. I don't even remember where the hell they got these from or what they were originally. And they just pretty much strapped those 106 millimeter recoilless rifles to it. And you would just drive this thing up to a street or down the street up to a bunker or to a house where, the NBA had a little bunker or something. And it was bulletproof. It wasn't really rocket proof, but it was very light armored, but technically was armored. Yeah, you just cook off these 605 millimeter or 106 millimeter recoilless rifles. And, that's the end of that. And then the infantry rushes in. So, at point blank range, close range, lots of cover, like urban terrain, it did pretty good. Because it was so small, it could maneuver through a lot of streets.
Yeah.
That a lot of the M48s, like we saw in Task Force X-Ray, 5th Marine Battalion, Tank Battalion, 3rd Marine Tank Battalion, the guys that were actually involved in Hue with Task Force X-Ray and everything else like that, the Pattons had a tough time getting down those streets. Those little Ontos could get in between these little nooks and crannies. So you'll find a lot of people that have a lot of nice things to say about the Ontos, but really it was an effective stopgap that had one really, really good shining moment, but pretty much it was pretty terrible.
Huh. Yeah, like I said, it was news to me on that one. I had no idea they used those. All right.
At a brief little moment.
Okay. All right. So I'm sorry, Ralph. I know we got on a tangent.
No, that's fine.
What else have you been up to? Are you still working pretty hard, or you had some hobby
Yeah,
time?
I was still working hard. I've done a bit of hobby, but it was mainly just some writing for some other project that I'm working on for my players. So
Okay.
I was doing some Photoshop stuff and some printing, some writing up and things. So it hasn't been really wargaming related or more historical wargaming related, is more fantasy sci-fi stuff. So
Gotcha. Well,
that's been my hobby. And also keeping track of what's coming up in the news.
Well, I have to say, I mean, gaming, whether it's, in our genre or just some gaming, it's nice to have that break from the craziness of the world it is. So
Yeah.
we encourage all forms of gaming. Obviously, we're on the historical sides of things, but we encourage all gaming. All right, Jim, what you been up to? You've had a few projects in the works. How did the American War of Independence go?
Went pretty well. I'm pretty sure the Americans won that game.
Excellent.
There's been at least 3 things going on lately. The 2 major ones, at least for the last couple of weeks, have been Dien Bien Phu. We've been doing a lot of Dien Bien Phu with Piotr over there in Poland. In Valor and Victory. So what we've been doing is that now that I'm working from home is because he's in a very different time zone. He's even further to the east than Gaz and Ralph over there. Is that it's tough for us to get together and have and get a time. So we've been gaming on lunch hours.
Oh, okay.
So he gets home from work at 6 or 7 or whatever. He's ready to start. By then it's only like noon or maybe 1 o'clock over here for me. So again, because I'm working from home, we are definitely still working, but at least we still get a lunch hour, and I'm already at home. I literally just swing my office chair from one computer to the other, and we're able to fire up these little mini sessions, hour and a half, hour-long sessions. And yes, we've been gaming literally 5 days a week, like every day this week, with Valor and Victory and Dien Bien Phu. And we've run these games like several times now. We had our original game, and then we've run the assault on Beatrice 1, Strongpoint Beatrice 1 twice. The first one was a disaster. The game wasn't even close to bounce correctly. I did not design that scenario very well. My Viet Minh they didn't even make it to the French bunkers.
Oh, really?
I outnumbered him like almost 3-1, and every single one of my units, I was tabled. I put you've been in these big Valor and Victory games, G. I put a full reinforced battalion. So picture every single one of those. Those 82nd Airborne counters, like that size of a force, and I didn't even make it out of the water. They all were killed. Yeah, before they even got to the French fortifications. And that, again, these games, Valor and Victory, Panzer Leader, that focus strictly on rules, will teach you these kind of lessons like, okay, what did I forget? What did I forget? You know what I forgot to put in that first game? The effects of the Viet Minh artillery that went down.
You didn't put the artillery barrages in there?
Not really.
Okay.
There was artillery during the game normally, but again, that place was under French artillery. That place was under Viet Minh artillery fire for 2 hours before that.
Yeah.
Historically. So you work that into the game with some of the World War I artillery pre-barrage rules that we used or we created for our World War I expansion. It's a World War I game in French Indochina. There are French trenches. You look at aerial photographs, because we did a lot of research on this. You look at aerial photographs for Beatrice. It was one of the strong points at Dien Bien Phu, and it's literally World War I trenches. If you showed that without captions next to a photograph of Verdun, you would not be able to tell the difference, except for maybe like the graininess of the photo. Other than that, you'd be like, okay, which one is which? Because they look exactly the same. Barbed wire, belts of barbed wire, interlocked trenches, a front line contact trench, a back support trench, crenulated support trenches that connected to, it's literally a World War I table. So I wound up using most of my old World War I rules that we used when we expanded Valor and Victory into 1918. And then as I'm building that table, Yavasa, or Piotr, is his real name. Yavasa is his handle over there on tabletop. Is like he's the thing I love about gaming with Piotr is he'll get into the history even more than I do. So
wait a minute. Hold on. Who gets into it more than you do? That's not possible.
Piotr definitely does.
Wow.
But that's why some of these games took 5 days to play, because we'll start, trading sources, and before you know it, he knows even more about the not so much the Vietnam War, but French Indochina War. He knows, more about than I do. And we're like, this really looks like a World War I table. This really looks like a World War I table. I can't believe how much this looks like a World War I table. He's like, well, here's one reason. And he's got the source that confirms that the only thing the French had to go on was an old manual from 1916, how to dig a trench. So, yeah, the Bien Phu, the French were literally using 1916 tactics. That was the only manual they had as far as how to actually set up their defenses and set up their trenches, fields of fire, the belts of barbed wire, minefields, and so on. And yeah, the Viet Minh went through there, and sure enough, they got torn up in the first game. I was like, you know what? Let's work into those World War I pre-barrage rules. It wasn't much, but usually when you're trying to fix a scenario, it's a small choice, a small adjustment you have to make. And so it's always a small adjustment, and never just add things. Because the first thing was like, oh, the Viet Minh don't have enough people.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, we know how many people the Viet Minh had there. So if I just stack another whole battalion behind that, number one, now the game's unplayable, and number two, it's historically inaccurate, because we know that it was the 141st of the 420. Reverse that, the 428th of the 141st. That they didn't have another battalion there. And well, what did they have? They had that artillery. Well, it won't make a big difference, but let's try it. And it made all the difference in the world. So yeah, never assault a position without artillery support. The artillery went in, knocked out just a few French squads, suppressed a couple of their bunkers. Up went the new assault. My sappers opened up gaps in the barbed wire. The assault troops went through. We started launching more assaults. I still didn't take the whole strong point in one go, which is sort of the historical result. But the score came down to a precise tie, 148 to 148. That's including unsecured casualties, secured casualties, prisoners of war, so on and so forth. It really came down to a dead tie. So we've been doing a lot with Dien Bien Phu, and as far as that goes. And then the other thing was, Battlefield Rebellion, like you were talking about before. Battlefield Rebellion is a war game that we're designing strictly here for SITREP. It sort of takes a tactical look at the American War of Independence, or the American Revolution, if you prefer. And the results there have been great so far.
Nice. It looked really good. And that is a custom built game. So everybody's familiar.
Yeah, are we looking at Victoria Cross 2 or what? No.
That's, you guys see it. The people aren't seeing that.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'll let you know when I share it.
Oh, no worries. I just didn't want to be talking about one thing and we're displaying something else. All right, so Battlefield Rebellion. Yeah, it's a game that we're pretty much creating here for SITREP, and it's been through lots of solitaire playtesting. We've been doing it now live. The big friend that helped me out with that one is Dylan. He's been a great supporter of SITREP. What kind of got me restart, this is an older project, but kind of what got me restarted was he's had a great series of videos on his YouTube channel. It's another historian wargamer. To give a quick, he's given lots of plugs to us, so let's definitely return.
Most definitely.
He had a great series of videos on the movie Waterloo. So, practically everybody's seen that movie. The old, I think it's Rod Steiger plays Napoleon. A great movie. And he goes through it from perspective of not only a wargamer, but also a history buff. And he sort of compares the two, how you could do it in the game, in different games, different scenes of the movie or whatever, how you could game it, what's accurate, what's not. in anything black powder. So again, he's written some great articles on tabletop back in the day for French and Indian War. He knows a lot about the French and Indian War. He knows a fair amount about the Revolution, and he's an absolute god when it comes to Napoleonics as well. So, 1755, 1776, 1805 to 1815. He's in that. He's definitely in that period. So he was definitely the kind of guy that I wanted to have play test this, and also ask him, like, look, let's just play it, have fun, have a good stream, but also if anything here seems weird, let me know. If anything here doesn't look right or whatever. And again, given the echelon level or the command level of this game, every piece in the game is between 60 and 100 men. So it's like 2 companies. You can put a battalion together with like 3 pieces. A division would be like 20 pieces or whatever. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't get down into the weeds. It's definitely not a skirmish game. It's a level 2 command tactical game. So the detail is a little bit forgiving, but we've got some great stuff in there.
Excellent. So I am sharing the title screen for your Battlefield Rebellion, so everybody out there can see it. And this is from your last video. I mean, to me, it's one of those special eras of American history that doesn't get as much attention as I think it should. Obviously, since it's the birth of our nation, but everybody wants to do the Civil War or World War II. So I appreciate you taking on this, and obviously your screen name comes from.
Oh yeah, Battle of Oriskany.
Yeah, there you go. So.
One of the smaller but more ferocious Revolutionary War battles.
Yeah.
American Revolution, as far as, a wargaming goes, I don't know about culturally, but within our hobby, American Revolution doesn't get as much play as, say, Napoleonic, or even here in the States, or definitely Civil War. The battles are so small, it's tough to find. Well, that's not really true. I was about to say it's tough to find unbiased sources. Because, especially here in the States, the American Revolution it has like this almost, mythological kind of a status to it.
Yeah.
So whenever you start reading about the American Revolution, especially here in the States, you are going to have to kind of burn your way through a little bit of patriotic fog as far as, the material goes. There are definitely some good sources out there, and like we were talking in a previous stream, so I won't just blather on and repeat ourselves. The Americans lose like 90% of the battle, at least 3/4 of the battles.
Yeah.
So balance is tough. You're talking about a force that in some parts of the war were pretty much just, random farmers with their granddaddy, fowling muskets or whatever, up against what was at the time, the most powerful army on the planet. The British were not nearly as strong as, sometimes Americans like to make them think, or make them appear, because, again, it was very tough in those days. It's tough nowadays to ship an entire army and support it, transcontinental across the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So the British were never as strong as they wish they could be, or as they hope they could be. Even at the time, their invasion of New York was the largest expedition the British Empire had ever sent anywhere at the time. And you add it all together, it's only 40,000 men, and that includes the fleet. It's really like an army of 25,000 men.
Yeah.
Waterloo tops the scales at like 200,000 troops. And it's only like 30 or 40 years later. Leipzig goes out to almost 300,000, quarter of a million men. And American Revolution, the biggest battle, had a total of 30,000 men on both sides. So it's war by Kickstarter. The American Revolution is. The Americans are obviously having to put this army together on a shoestring budget. They don't even have money. They don't have a bank. Our first bank isn't founded until 1781. So forget huge defense budgets or anything else like that. And the British, every bullet, every uniform, every belt buckle has to be shipped 3,000 miles across the Atlantic in those days.
Yeah.
With those ships, getting a letter across the Atlantic took 2.5 months in those days. So you can imagine trying to ship an army over there, and never mind, trying to command it, trying to control it. In every message, at least from the high off, from like Parliament or the War Department, from high level command, strategic command, it takes 2 months to send a single message. So that's 4 months to make any kind of strategic decision, because you have to get a report, you have to think about it, you have to make a decision, you have to ship that answer back. I mean, yeah, you're fighting with one foot in a bucket as far as, meanwhile, the Americans are basically like this, guerrilla insurgent force in a lot of these battles. And yeah, it wasn't easy.
I don't know how that came up, but okay. All right. Marty? You there?
What up?
What's you been up to?
Well, working from home, although my workload has been slowly diminishing, so I've had more and more hobby time as I stay home. So let's see. I finished my Spectre starter set that I got with the version 2 rules. So those guys are all done, painted, based, ready to hit the table. I worked on the technical and the crew for 13 hours. Those guys are done and ready to go. And whenever we can, actually be in person again, I'll swing that by your place and we'll add that to the pile of painted lead.
Yeah.
And then because the Spectre starter set that I got, I didn't get the new one. I got the one that has Rangers and Spetsnaz. Not that I'm upset about that, but I don't mean to make it sound like, gee, I get ripped off. Nothing like that. However, I was kind of hoping to do like an Afghanistan type scenario. So shipping from the UK to the US is kind of sketchy right now. Fortunately, Tim over at Footsore North America, which is in St. Louis,
yes, it is.
It only has to come up half the state. I got his Afghan insurgent range, and because it was a lot of models and they were kind of cool and they were on sale, I also got the French Foreign Legion. And then because my guys need something to ride around on, I also got a Humvee. So
nice.
So those are all getting primed and assembling the Humvee and whatnot. I'm getting ready to paint that guy up. And then, as Rolf was saying earlier, Spectre has their Salute exclusive with all their previous limited edition models.
Let me pull that up so people can see that. I was looking at that printer that Ralph sent me. Let me see. Bring up that so people can see. As of this recording, and this is a live show, guys, so please remember, it may or may not still be available. As of today, which is Sunday the 19th, it is still available. It's a pre-order item. They cannot give a firm shipping date. Here, let me share it now. And I'll go full screen so you all can see it. So that is what they currently have. Is I like this Ranger, the Wounded Ranger.
That's what tipped it in for me. Yeah. So.
So anybody who has been military or is still military, you will definitely make a connection to that because you never leave your buddy behind. So.
I think that was Salute 2018.
Oh, was that a previous Salute mini?
Yes.
Okay. All of
them are previous Salute minis.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that helps. I missed out on them.
You can't get them ones anymore. I've got when it was first came out, the first 2 Salute minis I remember them doing, they probably did ones well, were the guy with what's called the Juggernaut. So it's the Russian trooper with the heavy armor and the heavy MG,
which will go well with my Spetsnaz,
and the female sniper in grey.
Nice.
The female operator. And I got her by herself. I didn't pick up the Juggernaut.
Okay.
And if you look in the bottom corner as well, that's a Kickstarter. That green,
the ISA operative?
That's one of their Kickstarter ones.
Oh, nice. Because I don't know how I missed out on their Kickstarter years ago. I wasn't big into Kickstarter when they came out, so. But no, those are nice minis. I'm glad they're redoing them. I ordered 2 sets just because. If somebody wants to become my really, really good friend, I might give away a set. So.
The guy supporting the injured guy supporting the other one, came out the same time as they released their Ranger set. So it was the first time that they'd released their Ranger set. So if you look under the minis on the left there, G, and US Rangers, you'll see. Under US Special Forces. It's under the US Yeah, that one there. You'll see Rangers.
Yep.
So when this set was originally launched, that came out as the Kickstarter because it goes with that set.
Gotcha. They're nice miniatures. I really look at it. Everybody sold out.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, that's the problem. You know, being now it's a 2-person operation because Matt's not associated with them anymore. Is that correct? Is that what we were told?
Matt is no longer associated with them. He's still a fan, and he's come out and said that on a couple of group stuff. And
Matt's been writing some supplemental rules too. That
he did the jungle set rules for them.
Yeah. I mean, he was the main writer of the rule book.
Didn't he collaborate with somebody else that wrote like a 12-page supplement for zombie rules?
He may have.
Might have done the zombie stuff that popped up this past week on their Facebook.
We still need to get with John Chang about Black Powder Red Earth because we were going to do something at Adepticon, and now that's fortunately but we'll definitely work on it with them. So that's
a set of minis I recommend. They are when you see them up close properly, they're astounding. They really are. The sculpt Steven's done on them is amazing. So
like I said, I ordered 2 sets. I might see if I can get Steven to send us a giveaway set. It's a thing. So, real quick, Marty, what else have you been working on?
So, to round it out, as you guys know, I'm a Dust 1947 fan. So, I am working on my little pile of, I would say gray, but my stuff's already comes pre-primed green. So my pile of green there. So I've got a Dust 1947 Ranger squad that I'm working on, as well as one of the Allied aircraft.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not historical. It's the what if weird historical. I know Jim's eyes twitching right now, but that's okay.
Yeah. That's all fine.
So, for a fun, easy game. It's a popcorn game, and we enjoy it. And I think we convinced my brother to play now, huh? I was on the conversation going on there. And we might even try Tabletop Simulator, while we're quarantined or social isolation or whatever the hell we're calling it these days. Ralph, I really looking into this Tabletop Simulator as another option to play some games.
Yeah.
Dust is one of those options. Go ahead.
I've got a bunch of assets because you can just get the assets. So there's a bunch of Op4 and Mill for doing modern.
Yeah.
Someone put Spectre on there.
Yep.
Sangin's on there. You can download a thing for Sangin.
Yep.
There is a bunch of 3D minis and stuff like there's a tanker.
Yep.
To scale for the minis, so you could do the whole raid on a tank or whatever. What else was on there that I've noticed? Black Ops.
Yep.
Is on there as well. So the Osprey game's on there. Going away from what historical, there's some stuff for 6 mil.
Yeah.
So doing like big, say doing the Battle of Oriskany and doing, things in Civil War or War of Independence or, historical. There's a bunch of different things on there for that. What else? There's a bunch of science fiction stuff for people that are wanting to do, say, 40K and things. Bold Action is very heavily on there. And so is Black Powder.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, a load of stuff for Black Powder. There's all sorts on there for doing different things. If you go to the workshop option G on the top, so if you go to the very top, community workshop.
Community, yep.
Yeah, click on workshop. Yeah.
Yep.
Let that load up, and then on the search bar there, you see where it's got the search.
Yep.
Type tabletop. It's not in that one. There's somewhere else. So you need to go into
actually be in Steam, and I'm just doing it from my website.
That's right.
Yeah, I was going to show people tabletop, but the thing that people need to understand about Tabletop Simulator, it does not play the game for you. You have to know the rules. You have to have a copy of the rules. It is just literally a tabletop simulator. You move pieces, you can roll dice, but it will not. You say you can't do that. It doesn't actually let you. It doesn't play the game for you like some simulations. It literally is just a virtual tabletop. So you still have.
Yeah, there's no AI or anything involved with this.
There's some scripting and some of the stuff that you can download because they've scripted in specific actions that need to take place. Like things like, but it doesn't actually play the rule set at all. The one I was looking at, which has been done by the company, was Warfighter. So Warfighter's on Tabletop Simulator. Yeah. With all of the supplements.
Okay.
With like nine of the supplements that came with it.
Okay.
So it was.
Here, I'll pull up mine here. I'm not showing it yet, but I'll pull mine up real quick. But yeah, it gives us an option because it's kind of segues into something. Our good buddy Chris, not Chris Long up in Canada, but Chris the Wimmer, who's behind the scenes supporter of the podcast, has provided us with a dedicated server machine. This isn't. He could tell you all the specs, but it's actually something pulled out of a huge corporation. It has. I don't know. I'd have to pull up this thing, but it's like a professional high grade server. So we can start hosting dedicated games of Arma, DCS, anything that we can connect with the server. We will have a dedicated server running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So
it's got a metric crap ton of storage, and
it's like
is really fast.
It's crazy. So let me close this out here, but.
He also bought the Salute set, so that will sit on his shelf next to everything else he hasn't painted.
Yeah. And if you're listening, Chris, we still love you and we appreciate it, but
No, that's what he said he's going to do with it. I talked to him yesterday.
Well, I've got a set of plastic drawers, that you would put tools and stuff in and things like that, like just bits of it. And the top drawer is full of Spectre minis in their boxes, ready to be deboxed, based, and primed, ready to be printed.
Yeah. So I am showing the screen right now. This is Tabletop Simulator. I'm not going to really do anything. I'm just going to show you some of the options you can do. So right now, these are the games I have loaded. I have ASL Starter Kit 1, Panzer Leader, Spectres right here. I have some Milsim models. So I'll load this up just so you can see what these look like. I got Mafia, Cartel, if I can get them to pop up. So that's what they kind of look like. So you can actually take these and play them.
You can also duplicate them as well. So if you need
make all kinds. So it's like I said, here's SEAL Team 6. Oops. So
alone and unafraid.
That's right. So you can use these for playing a miniatures game. So like right now it's
you said the rules themselves are not actually coded into the tool.
But let me show you this, Jim.
Which is a good thing. I'm not talking down about it.
No, it's a good thing because then you still have to buy the game. Yeah,
not only that, but most of these games are kind of broken, or at least need some kind of modification.
So here's
put that in a more positive way. Okay, yeah, perfect example. Panzer Blitz is a game. I mean, I've talked about it a million times. It's one of my favorite games. Nevertheless, it does need some love out of the box.
Yeah.
And the problem with people, I've tried for years to get me on things like Vassal, which is a little bit more, I think, system driven. If that's the right word, where the actual rules of the game are actually in the system. And if you want to upload your own scenarios, your own units, your own pieces, your own house rules or things like that, you have to actually get into the guts of the system and start to do a little bit of coding.
Yeah.
The system does allow you to do that, to its credit. At the same time, though, not everyone has that kind of time or skill set or whatever, especially since you can just open up Skype and do it that way, or Discord or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are. Oh my God! Go back 2 seconds. Can you?
To where?
To the map.
Yep.
I recognize those maps. Those are not original Panzer Blitz or Panzer Leader maps. That is from a website called Imaginative Strategist.
Oh, okay.
Somebody either used their map or downloaded it and re-uploaded it here. That's a great little site. If you love Panzer Leader, Imaginative Strategist, it's a great little site.
Oh, I'll have to
It's like this old, like this guy runs it off his dining room table kind of a site, but it's just tons and tons of old school. Everything there's PDF. Everything there is free. You literally just like download whole sheets of counters, and his counters are 9 million times better than the ones that came in the box. Again, the ones in the box were printed in 1970. So I mean, publishing technology in 1970. Sometimes the damn counter numbers don't even like fit on the cardboard. It's 1970. Yep, I recognize those maps.
So there
cool.
you go. I mean, it's just another option to play some of those games where you may not have a chance to, but it's nice. I haven't really played into it too much, but I definitely will look into it. But Jim does an amazing job using Excel. People go all the time when they jump in and say, "What game are you playing?" And you go, "Excel," and they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
So
the Excel is the easy part. It's building all the pieces that go into it.
Yeah.
That's where it gets a little weird. But once you build that library of assets or whatever, it's super easy.
Yeah. So
You swear at Excel a lot as well, Jim.
I swear at Excel, although Excel doesn't really deserve it. Who I'm really swearing at is OBS. But hey, what are you gonna do? It's the quality of the stream. As far as I'm always worried about it because you want to have the nicest experience for our audience or whatever, and then if you're in the middle of a turn and you've got a bunch of people, not only your opponent and the people you're playing with, your quote unquote private audience, because sometimes we have people actually in either the Discord or the web conference or whatever, but then sometimes we're also streaming these games live, so you have an external audience.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, because OBS has drawn up so much of your resource, you got to do something pretty big in Excel. These are pretty big Excel sheets, and it just stalls out, or there's a little bit of latency, and you wind up grabbing the wrong item. It's kind of annoying. But in the end, it's not really Excel's fault. At the same time, I'm looking at Excel when it happens, so it kind of catches the brunt of it. But it's all part of the show. Speaking of which, one thing I did forget to mention super fast, we finally finished Syria in HK Ops.
Yes, you did.
I think that was since our last podcast. So we were talking about hobby. That is one thing I did forget. It took us 4 sessions, but we did finally get through it. So Syria in HK Ops almost turned into Syria in real life, where it's easy to get into it and not so easy to get out of there. We finally got out. Escalation Team, or X Team 619, is officially no more. The group was that was the last mission for that group, because they have now been upgraded to a tier 2 team. The group is now working in Discord to kind of pick out a new name for themselves. They get to pick their own name now, and the whole group has kind of been promoted and upgraded. So while they do that, we're taking a little bit of a pause, like maybe a couple weeks, a month at the most, to kind of take stock, find out what we like about the game, what we don't. There's a few things I'm not really happy with as far as the system goes. For people in the audience, it's a World War II. I'm sorry, it's a modern miniature. It's a modern role-playing game system. That way, again, we've kind of designed ourselves exclusively for our SitRep audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're finally out of Syria. We're taking a little bit of time off.
That's
eventually. Yeah, eventually. It's just we have to figure out like where we want to go from here, because it's not so much an end, but we've reached a major waypoint in the story. Okay, yeah. We're finally out of Syria. Our group got promoted. All of the characters' plot lines have now been kind of resolved, as far as all the the drama like behind the scenes or whatever. That's all been kind of figured out one way or the other. People have gotten promoted, people have moved on, and now it's time to kind of take a breath, see what we like about it, see what we don't like about it, and see where we go from here.
Are you just swearing at me there, G?
Not me. Way to go, Jim. I am definitely going to try and end this crazy virus in time for the next episode so I can actually be there.
Okay, no worries.
Because this stupid thing is totally ruined my social life and gaming life. Not that I had much of a social life before. I'm pretty much a hermit, and I'm okay with that. But it does ruin my gaming. I mean, Marty can attest to that. I barely talk to him half the time. So he'll like, hey, can you call me? And I'm like, nope. So, I'm just not a big communicator. But,
Don't blame it on the pandemic.
Yeah, I know. I've been that
That's
way
not new.
Yeah, it's not new. I've been that way since I was a child. Just leave me in the corner and let me do my own thing.
Social distancing since age 8.
Well, let me put it to you this way: when I was young, I think it was probably 9th grade, freshman year of high school. I don't know what that means in English school terms, but your first year of high school. They had a career counselors come out and they start thinking about your future. And I brought some stuff home and my dad just looked at it and goes, why bother? You're just going to end up being a hermit in the mountains and living in the mountains by yourself anyways. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, thanks, Dad. So, that's my upbringing.
And now we all wish we could do that.
I know, right? The sad thing is I'm closer to doing that than all of you. I have an RV and mountain land. So
that's right.
And
damn it.
And horses.
And horses and a whole bunch of firearms. So I am ready to go. All right. So let me talk a little bit about my hobby. The little bit I've got. I got the vehicles painted. I got the sedan painted. Finishing up the first 4Runner. I'll start on the second 4Runner, get that going. And then I'm going to finish painting up the security detail for the State Department. We got the ambassador already painted. I reached out to the guys at Black Site Studio because they did a live stream literally right after we live streamed our last episode. And I talked to them and said, hey, dudes, I need walls. All right. And they're like, walls? What do you mean walls? So I talked to them about it a little bit. If for some reason we can't get them to produce, Marty and I are going to just scrap, we're going to get some, I don't know, we're going to use styrofoam, corkboard, something, and we will build our own walls. Because we need to get this project up and running because I am fully convinced we are going to put the smackdown on Gaz and his little whiny baby Libyan troublemakers, and we're going to pull this off with no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, and
on the way there, you're not even going to get to me. What are you talking about?
I was going to say I have to start that map completely over again. I'm not happy with the way that map's turning out, so I'm not quite as far ahead as I thought I was on the Transit game. I was drawing these individual. I mean, the YouTube videos are up, or they're up on our channel or whatever.
Yep.
Where we were drawing a lot of these buildings.
Yeah.
Dumbass. Speaking to myself here, this map has got to be like almost 1.5 miles, if not 2 miles wide. You're going to draw every building in a major, Benghazi was an actual city.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So I'm going to have to come up with a different way to do the map on that.
Oh, okay.
The game system's more or less designed. The pieces are all done, but there's a little bit of a reassessment on the map, how the map is going to be approached as far as, a graphic design / game design, sort of a project.
Gotcha.
The idea I have, if it works, it'll be nice and quick. I'll be able to pretty much build the map in a day.
Okay.
But cool. I have to pretty much start that part of it.
Well, I guess you have a little bit of time to do that as we finish up our stuff. And I think we're pretty close to our goal on the bad guys. We'll have to do a recount. Marty, how comfortable do you feel about breaking social isolation?
Well, I blew you guys off to go to the range last podcast.
Yeah, you fudger.
Hey, somebody says I have an outdoor range and all the bullets you can shoot. You're probably going to lose. I'm just going to throw that out there. Although I was halfway to your house. I was at the Kendall
Yeah,
County
I know.
range.
You weren't that far from the house, man. That's all right. Hey, we understand. You got to do what you got to do. I'm still waiting. I'm so close to, no pun intended, pulling the trigger on that Sharps rifle. I am so close.
Yeah, to turn it back to the hobby thing.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I did, and I don't think I mentioned, is you talked about we'll just go ahead and build the walls. So because I got all these figures, I figured they needed some place to play. So
right?
I built an Afghan compound,
Nice.
a couple of shops, and a house out of corkboard using inspiration, guidance, and tutorial from Madakishi's Tea House webpage.
Yeah.
And that's super easy as long as you've got a sharp knife. These go together.
Well, I
really
tell you
quick.
what, you know what we need to do then is get some materials and let's do a live stream hobby night and let's build some terrain.
Because I got a before Michael's closed down completely. You can still get stuff online from them, but the stores are all shut down. You can't even get curbside stuff now. I did a curbside order and ordered a 4-pack of like 4 mil corkboard.
Okay.
It was, I don't know, $8. I built all of those 4 pieces of terrain, and one of them's a 12 by 12 based compound. And I still have almost a full sheet left over out of the pack. So it is.
How durable is that corkboard?
Well, so I use emulsion paint on it. So it is stout once it's painted up. I mean, it's got some definite give and flex to it when you first put it together.
Yeah.
But after it's painted, I mean, I can literally take the little house, throw it across the room, and it's going to bounce.
We did Force on Force 20 millimeter in Moderns, and I was kind of looking for that Middle East kind of a wall solution. And I tried that, I tried corkboard, I should say. Like, I couldn't get it to work. I wound up having to use foam board, which is stronger and lighter. It's got some extra steps to it, so it looks like a stone wall.
Yeah.
And again, like you were saying, you have to have a really sharp knife, or else it binds up and it doesn't cut well.
If you use the emulsion paint, it's paint and PVA and watered. It soaks into the corkboard, and it really makes it stout.
It's awesome. I never thought of that. Yeah, I was just trying to cut the corkboard and maybe put some paint on it and just try to use it like that. And it looked okay, but it wasn't holding up well.
Wow, this is nice. Okay.
Jay, if you go back to the
that's
front
the one I
page
built.
So if you go back a page and look at his Entebbe, he actually built Entebbe.
He did Entebbe?
Yeah,
there it is there.
Let me share this with everybody.
That's really nice, that one, actually.
This is another one of those things that I love. And unfortunately, it's because of the movie. The original movie. Not the
7 Days, which I think was the new version of the movie.
Not the one with. Did the original one have what's his name in it?
Charles Bronson and James Woods.
Was that the original version? The original movie?
Mm-hmm.
That was in Op Center number 4.
Yeah.
But he's got all of the plans.
Look at that.
He's done all the plans.
That's all corkboard, huh?
That's all corkboard. You can do it in foam board as well. I mean, you can buy, I think he uses 5 millimeter corkboard, but you can buy 5 millimeter foam board as well. So it doesn't really matter which one you use. Either one's good enough. It's just, I guess, price and getting a hold of it.
So something like this where it's a modern building, foam board would work pretty good too. I like the corkboard for like the Afghan stuff because it's already textured. I don't have to worry about applying anything onto it like I would for foam board.
Gotcha.
And let's face it, I'm lazy. So if I can skip that step,
I think I've got them planned separately because he sells some of the plans separately.
Okay.
So I've got some of them in PDF. I've got the Afghan buildings, and I think I got Entebbe and stuff. If I'll dig them out. Yes.
I just fired up the webpage and kind of scrolled through it as I was building it, and it's pretty easy to follow along. Once you do a couple of the buildings, you get a feel for, okay, the doors are always this size, the windows are always this size, and then even if there's not like an exact measurement on where to place it, because you've got that experience, you can be like, okay, I know that the door is 20 millimeters wide and 30 millimeters tall, and it looks like it's about a door width from the edge. So I'm going to put that 30 millimeters from, 20 millimeters from the edge.
Yeah. Under the section as well, under the project section where this is part of, he has his miniatures as well. So he shows you what miniatures he's done and how he's painted them and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Because one of the things he's done under making things as well is he's got Wild Geese. Remember the film Wild Geese?
Yeah.
he's done a load of stuff in Africa
Okay.
around that. Because is it Sally Forth? They've done a bunch of the wild geese buildings.
Have they? Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is last year. They produced like an airport and the bunker and things like that.
It's a small airport, and to be
Yeah, it
still,
was a really
part,
small. It was
part of it's still standing. That tower is still standing to this day. They left it up as a memorial.
So Sally Forth did some stuff in their section 4. There's a 28mm airport and stuff in MDF, and it was part of the wild geese. It might be in the site there, G.
Well, I'm looking at it. I think I got a lot of stuff. I don't think I've ever really looked at that site.
You've never been to Sally Forth?
I've been to it, but I don't think I really looked. Because I was supposed to get a copy of these rules, whatever this game is.
Yeah.
Combat Patrol, but I never got it. The author reached out to me and said he sent me a copy, and I never got it.
Copy. I'll send you the link directly to the wild geese stuff. There it is.
Interesting. Okay.
So on the tea house, he's got some stuff to do, things like that with corkboard and things, making shanty villages and towns and stuff like that.
Cool. I mean, so there's obviously, because some of these buildings right here, like this prison office and stuff, would work perfectly for my Central America table I'm still working on for the British SAS, when they're down in police training and somebody's trying to do bad things in their backyard. So, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Sarissa, I think, posted up.
Sarissa's doing a lot of good stuff too. So, they
are. What was it? It was they put some Wild West stuff I was looking at because that's just my own thing. But they had up a what looked like would double up as a aerodrome, like when you see them on the South American runway fields where planes would land just to dump stuff off and disappear. They posted up some stuff in the MDF like that. But Ivan posted up his on the Spectre Facebook group. Ivan posted up one of the tables he'd been working on originally, and was a runway table. Oh.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find the thing off Ivan's post, because he was posting up some stuff. Because that's been quite active, that Facebook group.
Yeah. There's a lot of active stuff. Well, I'm still waiting on my Alamo. I got the Alamo coming from them.
But that was a Kickstarter, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know. This Mediterranean village is looking pretty tempting. Hey, they have walls. But they're not the kind of walls we need. But yeah, we'll get it figured out. So we can finish up this project, and then just as a sidebar, what Jim had mentioned earlier, because I was looking at. Let me pull it back up here. Worthington Publishing, because I didn't back this one, the French and Indian War, just because I don't like the block games. I don't know. For me, it just takes something away from it. I don't know why. I don't like those block games. But I do have this. I did back
this. It's a block game.
Where the pieces aren't chits, they're like wooden blocks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean.
I mean, a lot of people like it because it's unknowns. There's the fog of war type thing, because the blocks aren't facing, you don't see the chits.
Yep.
It's just the player. So, and then, I don't know, maybe I should give it a try. I think it's just because I'm definitely old school. In a lot of
yeah, because I know what you're kind of talking about. So you can set up the counters or not the counters, the playing pieces, where the opponent doesn't actually see the values on the piece.
Yeah.
Then you either flip it over. It's something that an inverted counter can't do. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. So
I'll say this much: whenever you're playing Hex and Counter, one of the top, you have to make your own counters, which you usually do, at least for the good ones, is mount it on the absolute thickest cardstock that your scissors can cut. Because super thin counters, this is the advantage of block games. The pieces are easy to handle, and that doesn't sound like a big deal until you have 400 or 500 counters on your map. You're playing Rise and Decline of the Third Reich, and you're like these little, paper thin counters. You're using little bits of blue tack and kneaded eraser to move your pieces around. It gets a little annoying. Easy to make, but it's worth the effort to make your counters as thick and chunky as possible. And block games already have that kind of advantage built into it. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's I used to have Red Storm Rising from I can't remember the actual company that produced it. It had the counters. It was a counter game, but the counters all had like these little plastic standees.
Yeah.
And the counters would stand up, and then you would only reveal what the counter was when you made contact with the enemy unit. It has some advantages, but at the same time, you only have so many of those little plastic clips. They're kind of a pain in the butt to use. You lose one, and now that unit is kind of stuck. They sent you some extras in the box, but it's, I guess, every game type has its advantages and disadvantages, I guess.
Yeah. So that's kind of because I have this set, the Victoria Cross 2 set, which is the Battle of Rorke's Drift and Ishland Wanda. And I know some people believe it's all one and same battle. It's a continuation. And some people consider it two separate engagements. But
I love how you head me off at the pass there before I get a chance. I don't always say the same things over and over again.
So, and
wait,
then,
don't you have a shot glass?
all right, so let me do an update on swag for our Patreon subscribers. Because of the stupid coronavirus, things have obviously slowed down tremendously, and we're not getting some of the stuff that we needed to. So what I've decided to do, instead of waiting on everything to come in and send it out at once, I'm going to start shipping out the minis because they're done to everybody that gets one. And then as the other stuff comes in, I will send it out. So it's the right thing to do. I've been sitting on stuff, waiting on stuff to all come in, and it hasn't. So we're going to go ahead and just send stuff out. So hopefully you'll be getting your minis soon. Please, once you get it and start painting them, please post it up on the Facebook page, please. We want to see what y'all do with yours. So maybe Gaz will paint one up on a stream one night too.
Well, yeah, I'm a patron, so I better be getting one.
Yeah,
right.
You know what? I could just send you the file. You got a printer now.
Well, that's true, actually. I'd probably do a better job as well.
Yeah. Oh, what?
Shots fired.
Take all the supports out of it then.
I already had the supports and everything done, dude. Wow. That's kind of hard.
That was just...
Woo. Well, on that note, so we'll send.
I already have my Sergeant Sit Rep all painted up.
Yeah, do you? Yeah. Did you post a picture?
I did not, because I want to do a kind of a plinth or display base, I think, for him.
Okay.
Because he's a special guy. So should do up something nice for him. But the figure itself is painted.
Excellent. All right.
And he looks pretty badass. Get on it
and start painting one up. All right. So I'll start sending those out this week. Anything else to talk about? Show's gone quick. We're already at almost an hour and a half for this show.
I've got two small things to quickly go over. All right. So a project has recently come to my attention that I think with all of our talk about 3D printing, I think it's a smaller company, so, try to help them out, give them a little bit of a shout out. The game is called Iron Cross. Have you guys seen any of this over there on Tabletop? Yeah, it's a 1 to 300 game that's pretty much built around the idea of 3D printing. So, the game comes with, STL files, I guess you guys call it. I don't really know anything about 3D printing, so excuse any ignorance that kind of comes out here. The name of the company is Voxel House. They're based out of Brazil. And what they've done is they've made this old style, a modern take, obviously, like 3D printing, 1 to 300, 6 millimeter game. So they've taken a new swing, so to speak. They've taken a fresh approach to, old school World War II. It's a World War II game, a tactical war game. Antonio Marcelo and Jorge Bentes are the two guys in charge of it. And again, it's neat to see World War II from a new perspective. Not often do you hear people in Brazil, writing about World War II history or talking about World War II history, or the Brazilian troops that were involved in World War II. Brazil was an allied power. They did join the war in 1942. Needless to say, they're really into it. They know a great deal about their country's participation in World War II, and they sort of, highlight that to a certain extent in their game.
Yeah.
The scenario cards that they have printed out. This is another reason I wanted to kind of bring it up.
Jim, was that on a weekend, or I'm trying to find it on the page?
No, it's one of their projects. It's in their projects feature. I think it's back on page 3.
Projects, okay.
Yeah, project's on page 3. You'll see something called Iron Cross. Stop when you see the tiger. You see this gigantic tiger and this big black graphic, Iron Cross games. It's pretty good. Again, I haven't played the game, obviously, but we've been in touch with some of the guys involved. They've sent me the book. I've kind of read through it. The scenario cards are great because they're like classic homage. They look exactly like the old ASL cards, G, that you're probably familiar with. And they did that totally on purpose. They're definitely trying to sort of have a little bit of a callback to like old 1980s gaming. Again, the scale is 1 to 300, so it's like 6 millimeter. And it's very, so right there, just by the selection of the scale, your games are going to be at least a little bit, at least a little realistic. And again, it's just a fresh take because, again, the Brazilian Expeditionary Force, the Cobra Fuentes, I think they called it. My Spanish is terrible, or my Portuguese is terrible. The Smoking Cobras or whatever. There's a whole story behind the name of that name. They fought all through Italy. There we see his Soviet
let me share this with everybody so they can see it. So these are 3D printed STL files, huh? Nice.
Yeah, these are the some of the original pieces that he's made up for his those are so like we have some T-34s, some KVs, some T-34-85s. It looks like Soviet force. We talk about this a lot here on SitRep. Those are some BA armored cars that a 6 millimeter game allows you to really expand the scale. Yeah. Not only in how big of a table you can put up, because then you're working in 6 millimeter, but what size force that you can put together. So to put together a Soviet armored battalion in its true scale, or even a Soviet armored regiment in even 15 mil is damn near impossible. Forget 28.
Yeah.
But first of all, you'd have to have a table the size of a golf course, and your 3D printer would die, 6 times over before you printed that much resin. But yeah, when you need 100 vehicles, 6 millimeter is the way to go. And you need that kind of range and distance, that elbow room on your battlefield. And these guys are definitely taking, one thing I liked about this little project is just for fun. Again, this is an advantage of the scale. Is that they've taken the dimensions that the P1000, there it is right there, the P1000 Rat was supposed to be. It was never actually built in real life, and they've 3D printed a Rat.
So a Rat is the same scale as that tank?
Yes. The Rat was a tank that they never built it. They never built it. But they were thinking about it. They had the plans drawn up, but they were kicking the idea around near the end of World War II. The Germans were. It was going to have 2 11-inch naval rifles, so the same guns that they mounted on the Scharnhorst class battlecruiser. It was going to have 2 U-boat turbines as its engines. It was something like 140 feet long. It was something that you see out of Steve Jackson's Ogre. This thing was absolutely huge. I've seen cutaways of what this thing was going to look like. It had like different levels with ladders, and it was a ship on land, basically.
Yeah.
And this thing was going to be absurd. It had like 6 sets of tracks or something ridiculous.
Holy moly.
Yeah. This is German engineering at its most insane.
I mean, how could you maneuver that thing?
It was the Allies are coming in to Germany. Let's just park this thing on the border and see how long it lasts.
Right.
It had like 4, like those little red bits on the back. It had like 4 20 millimeter turrets on the back, and then those 2 turrets on the very back were like, I can't remember exactly. I think they were either Panther turrets or King Tiger turrets.
Jesus.
And those are basically its secondary machine guns were King Tiger turrets on the back of this thing. And its main turret, again, were 2 battle cruiser guns made for shooting at other battleships. And here it is trying to engage Shermans.
That's crazy.
I've worked out the math in 15 mil, which is my, for sort of favorite scale. The thing comes out to be almost 20 inches long.
Holy.
Yeah. Needless to say, I would never build one in 15 mil, but in 6 mil, hey, you can print one out, and it's like the size of a normal 28 millimeter tank, and you're ready to go.
Get that. Well, you can tell that they did, just real quick technical, you can tell they did FDM printing because you can see the striations.
Okay.
Here, and you can see it on the, is that a Tiger?
I can't quite see it.
The little one, it looks like a Tiger.
It's got a round turret. Yeah, then it's a Tiger.
So that definitely. So, but still, I mean, wow, that is unbelievable. I can't believe that was an actual. Well, somebody thought we're going to do this.
Yeah, that's Dr. Ferdinand Porsche, who was kind of a Makes great sports cars and tanks, not so much.
Yeah.
But on a more serious note, yeah, he's got terrain, he's got rules, he's got counters, and again, I've looked through his rule book, and yeah, just the kind of thing that maybe isn't getting as much attention as it should. So I thought I'd put it out there. And a quick shout out.
You had a second one, right?
Yeah, a quick shout out to our friend Paul. Paul's a big supporter. He has a YouTube channel, Paul Beckus.
Okay.
He's been supporting us a great deal. There on YouTube. He's recently gone through a pretty serious medical procedure. It seems to have gone well. He's in recovery, so we wish him well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had. I mean, on top of coronavirus, of all the time to have this kind of thing happen to you, he's also got his own personal things going on.
Yeah.
So, but again, the procedure seems to have worked out. He's coming back slowly, but yeah, he's got a great channel. P Beckus, Beccas. Starts off with a P. He's been a big supporter on SitRep, and just wanted to tell him that we're thinking
all
about
wish him well and speedy recovery, my friend.
It looks
Indeed.
like the community's been doing a lot of stuff for Paul anyway. There's been a lot of stuff coming out saying Beckus commands, and a bunch of YouTubers have been creating armies and stuff.
Yeah, it's like two channels that are associated together. I'm not sure of the exact relationship there.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's the same. I think he's friends with those people or something like that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Does anybody else have anything before we wrap up? Gaz, you've been talkative as always.
Well, I get my out at the beginning and burn all my skill points and then have to wait. Respawn. Yeah, Plastic Soldier Company, I think, have got a month-long Salute no Salute sale on. So worth checking out, heading over to their website and just looking at what they've got available at the minute on deals and stuff, because I think if it's worth, for those in the UK and Europe, a lot know that Salute is a rather large event. With that in mind, it's worth having a look around your friendly neighborhood site. There it is, top left, PSC's no Salute sale.
Give me a second, change
and seeing what's available out there, because obviously these companies are struggling, like Jim said about the one he's just mentioned.
Yep.
With Iron Cross and such, it's good to get in amongst it now while these guys have still got stock and need a bit of extra funds. There's plenty of sites out there, lots of lists of vendors for Salutes, for what would have been, the Historicon, Adepticon. Getting amongst it, guys. Have a mooch out there. So I'm sure you'll find something that you really, really need that you didn't even know you did, and we can go from there. But just PSC, like I say, I've got a bit of a sale going, and it's worth a look through.
Awesome.
Well, what was interesting this past week as well, because of what's going on worldwide, the official announcement's gone out that they've cancelled Comic-Con.
Yeah, they did that well.
The first time in 50 years that there will not be a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So it sort of doesn't bode well for Gen Con as well.
Yeah, I mean, we still have a few months, I think it's going to affect it in one way or another. But
because Comic-Con's June, July normally. I think it's June normally, Comic-Con. So, if they're looking that far ahead, how are they looking even further ahead and getting into August when,
I'd be surprised if they have that sort of large event thing before we have a vaccine.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
No,
which means we'll probably see a lot more of the vendors, especially the big vendors like FFG and people like that, and Games Workshop as well, putting their stuff virtually. I know Games Workshop did a stream yesterday to promote their content, their new minis and stuff that was shown off. So like the new Warcry stuff and things. That was all done, streamed yesterday.
Okay.
Which I think would have been maybe, I don't know if Games Workshop go to Salute.
No, not typically.
Yeah.
No.
So
I haven't seen them in the past, but that's not to say what the new community-oriented program
the new regime is. So I think there's a lot more of companies, and there's a lot more like Sarissa are doing it. And other companies are going online to show off their stuff. So I think there's going to be more and more of that within the next couple of months at least.
Yeah. So it's been a definite weird year for gaming. With all the stuff, Adepticon gone, Salute now, and it's crazy.
Well, China's back up running 80% for most of their production stuff when it comes to.
Well, that's good.
From what I've seen from people like Warlord and Mythic Games.
Yeah.
They've all been putting out you get the updates through email system, especially if you're following. I'm in on a Kickstarter with Mythic, so obviously it's had a massive impact on their timeline.
Yeah.
So the updates are coming thick and fast to keep people interested. And if they're slowly coming out of that, it'll be more about when the ports reopen as much as anything.
Yep.
Not that they're fully closed. I mean, my friend Mark works down at Port of Felixstowe, which is a reasonably sized port on east of England. And they've never fully closed. It's just the amount of, transports coming in and going out is a lot less.
Yeah.
And that's mainly because of those overseas countries closing, their outgoing as much as their incoming.
Yeah. James, what is this that I see?
Oh, yeah, you got to check that out.
What?
Go for it.
40K?
I didn't want to mention that in our hobby because you would rage against me, but go ahead.
Yeah, you'll love it.
Oh, there it is.
Look at that beautiful picture.
Oh, I get it.
My gird, he's got jokes.
Oh, that is funny. Okay.
We all thought Helen frozen over. Got picked up in the sky. So Ragnarok was finally here.
So people are like, oh my God. Don't say that in the middle of the virus, okay? It's a bad time to make that kind of joke.
If you scroll down on that page there, temporary, and then click on that Fantasy 1 series thing.
On which one?
The Kickstarter for Fantasy 1. Scroll up slightly. You'll see it. It's a bit... God, he's down. Down. There, Fantasy 1. Yeah, click on that.
Okay.
These are all the minis that are coming in the set for 3D printing fantasy miniatures.
Oh, wow.
Keep going.
I'm going.
Keep going.
Wow.
There's a dragon. Keep going.
Wow.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
That's sweet. So for any D&D players.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. All right. Cool. All right, guys. I think we're going to wrap it up unless anybody else has any final thoughts. We appreciate y'all hanging with us. I'll get this cleaned up and we will get it out to our Podbean. And I guess I'm going to have to do a double feature because I got an error message from Podbean that says our last podcast did not completely upload properly. So there was some kind of issue with that. So I apologize for that. I wasn't aware of that, so I will get us out as a double feature. If you'd like to support us, please do so on our Facebook page. I think we're up to 279 followers on Facebook, which is a good thing. And I know we've Twitch, we're climbing steadily. You know what I was looking at while I'm thinking of it? I've been away from OTT for a little bit, and I just noticed they're now linking in live streaming.
Yeah,
you can see here. So I need to make sure we get linked in. Don,
I was going to say that would be great.
Yeah,
I saw that on this channel. I was like, oh, that would have been nice about 6 months ago. But,
so the funny thing is Don and I have been talking, and we're like, we kind of miss being on OTT and doing stuff. So it's like a freaking
it's drug. A drug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You miss your high. So because we've met a ton of people through this industry, and the idea of walking away from it and not having those relationships and doing those projects, it kind of like it's like a hard golden cold turkey, and I don't like
part time.
So I'll reach out to Warren and we'll get it then. But we want to thank everybody. Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. We're on Twitter, our Twitch channel. That's where we do our live stream. I'll see about connecting us into OTT Twitch channel. And to everybody out there, we wish you well. Everybody recovering or staying home, stay safe. Happy gaming, projecting, modeling, and we will see you guys soon.